Today I need to head over to the other side of this island, the island of Skiathos. But it seems like there's always something that needs to be fixed or addressed every single day, and today it's the anchor chain.
Lovely, the chain just came off the roller and got wedged.
And if you're wondering how this happened, it's because when I pulled up the anchor, I'd left the bridle on the anchor chain, which I've done multiple different times before, and because of that, it lifted up the anchor chain over and it got it wedged up. The adventure begins when the first thing goes wrong.
Fuck. Maybe I can use the hammer.
I heard that a while ago and it stuck with me because no great story was ever told without some sort of obstacle.
I wonder if reversing, bearing down on it, would be a good idea or a bad idea. It would either pull it out or lodge it more. Let's see. Aha! All right. Bring it in, see if there's any sort of issues. That seemed to work. Minor problem.
So I got that fixed, and it was just a short motor around the southern part of the island to this anchorage on the east side of the island near the town of Skiathos. The only thing constant in existence is movement, and movement is change. The only way that you could say movement is the same or that movement is constant is if something is moving within a pattern that you have identified, and then you decide to group that pattern as a thing, and then you can say it is constant. Like, for example, that's what we do with our bodies, right? We are a collection of millions, billions, who knows how many cells and organisms and bacteria that we're made up of. We're a type of superorganism. We are a collection of many different microscopic communities and that work seemingly independent and codependent and interdependent on each other. And those communities, when you put them all together, you end up with a human. If you don't put them all together, then you don't get a human. You don't get a very complex, conscious organism. You get parts. You know, you start removing those communities from the body, then eventually the person ends up dying. So a person is a collection of communities, really. And somehow that all comes together to make what we call consciousness and to make some sort of unified feeling. Within those communities, within your body, they are constantly moving. They're constantly changing. The cells are dying off and new ones are being made. You're turning over your human matter. You're constantly building, maintaining, and rebuilding your human body. But we don't consider that when we are talking about people. We think of them as a constant being. They are one thing that changes over time, but the core of them is the same. And so what I'm saying with that is, even within yourself, which feels constant, none of it's constant. The physical body is not constant, and when it comes to the emotions and the thoughts, if you sit and meditate and watch your mind, there is no such thing as constant. Everything is always moving and everything is always changing. So you can try and fight that and try to create permanence and stability, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. I mean, stability is very helpful, or at least the perceived sense of stability is very useful and helpful. To fight against change and the temporality of existence is a hopeless fight. It doesn't care. Like, you can't fight against it. It is what it is. You can either accept it or live in a type of delusion.
Today I'm sailing over to Skopelos. It's the next island in the northern Sporades. It's only like 7 miles away, and it looks like I've got plenty of wind to sail. I'm headed over to Skopelos to pick up Nikki. Nikki is Greek, and she'll be sailing with me probably for the next month.
In these past 2 years, I think it's been very clear to the majority of us that stability, or the appearance of stability, is in many ways a luxury. Many of us didn't realize that we had it until it's too late, until that stability has been removed. It goes back to the saying of, you never know what you have until it's gone. In times where I find myself in joy or in a very pleasant situation, a lot of times that mantra, "this too shall pass," enters into my mind. Most of the time, that is initially slightly depressing, but what it does is it reminds me to enjoy and appreciate it in the moment, to enjoy and appreciate it while it's happening now, because it won't last forever.
I was originally planning on kind of going in between these two islands here. Looks like the wind is, I could either tack up through it or just go around the island, and then I'd have a better angle of attack on the wind if I was going from the north, but it'll just be easier to go around the south of the island. 2 islands, actually.
It helps me in a way remember the change that will happen and what it is like to not have whatever it is that I have, and that helps me enjoy the process.
I'm in the lee of the island here, so the wind's doing a few weird things, you know, shaping itself around the island. And since I'm in the lee of the island, it's not as strong. I'm a little too close to the island, but we're getting around it. There we go.
To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silent and a time to speak. A time to love, a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace.
The wind is doing exactly what I want it to do, and now I'm on course pretty much perfectly to end up where I want to go on this island in Glossa. Once I got really close to the island, about half a mile out, the wind really started to die. All right, well, I think it's fair to say I've gotten to the point to where the sea is more rolly than it is windy out. I've only got like 3/4 of a mile, so I'm just gonna put the sails away and go ahead and motor in.
There is something deeply saddening looking back on an event or an experience in your life or a time period in your life in realizing that you squandered some of it, that you were caught up in ambition, pursuing something in the future, and so you weren't able to live in the moment and enjoy what you had right in front of you. And so I find that mantra very versatile, because in times it gives hope, in times it sobers the mind, in times it gives gratitude, in times I find that it brings peace. This too shall pass.
The ferry is exactly on time.
From dust we have come, and to dust we will return. Memento mori. So thank you for watching, and if you like what I'm putting out on this channel, subscribe and consider supporting on Patreon. Big love. Have a great week.